Hi everyone, welcome to this new training. I've been advertising this training and I received lots of questions, lots of interest because this is one of the hardest topics that we explore. With every single client we work on this piece, and almost every woman can relate to this one, right? Because we all have relationships or had relationships, and basically in all relationships this topic comes up. So what it is, most of you know already, red flags in dating and relationships. Today's topic. For those ones who don't know me, my name is Lana Elko and I'm a relationship coach for women, bright and independent women who really want to transform their toxic relationship patterns, right? And they don't want to settle for anything smaller than authentic, real, loving and lasting relationships. We have some new ladies in the group and I hope all of them are joining this training. If you're watching on the replay, you can also make comments and ask questions. I always come back to you. So this class continues even if I finish with this live video, okay? And I would like to encourage all of you to really participate, really kind of step out of your comfort zone and be more visible. Because when you participate, when you're active, when you make comments, share your story, ask questions, this is how you engage your energy. So you're not just passive listener, but you're active, you're taking action, right? And this is how we transform any kind of stuck energy in our bodies when we take an action, through the action. So I really encourage you, it can be really beneficial for you. And most women who's been in my group and who actively participate, they actually had results. Those ones, didn't, some of them didn't take any sessions with me, they didn't work with me personally, but they just benefited from being in the group and participating in these live trainings. So that is actually a benefit for you if you participate actively. All right, so also, I encourage you to send like, hearts, whatever emotion, emojis, emotional expressions you're experiencing during this training, because it also adds on our collective energy. So we're building up this energetic field together, collective, which can help us on our individual path, on our individual transformation, right? So be active, engage your energy and share it with everybody, okay? All right, so as I shared in my review in video that I made last week to give you an idea what this training is about, it's like almost everybody can relate to this one, right? Almost everybody had those situations where we felt kind of confused and lost in the relationship, and there was some kind of conflicting message coming from our partner or boyfriend, and we didn't know what exactly to do, but our intuition picked up these like red flags, these signals, right? And we usually, what we do, women, we usually react automatically in response to those triggers, in response to those red flags. So there are two types of behavior, where one is just reacting right away in a triggered way, creating lots of drama, making up some stories in our minds, being very irrational, not having, a really the foundation, the background, what to talk about, but because we triggered, we kind of bring it forward. And that creates lots of drama, and that's actually destructive. Now, another way that many women behave is just avoiding dealing with any kind of conflict, avoiding, even looking at those red flags or triggers and not even processing them, just choosing not to see them. So choosing to see what they want to see versus what it is. And that's also can be very damaging for your relationship, because at the end those flags there accumulate, and the issues that were not addressed in time, were not processed in time, they actually damage not just relationship but our own integrity, internal integrity. So that's why this topic is very important. Now, there are some women who do both. Sometimes they just lash out and create drama, sometimes they avoid, or they go back and forth between those two. So that's another kind of mixed way to behave, to respond to that. Now, if you remember my archetype training, there are 4 fundamental feminine archetypes. So if like you're embracing Amazon woman archetype, you might respond to those red flags with lots of intensity, lots of drama, right? If you're a good girl archetype, you might, decide to avoid, to see those triggers, to see those red flags, and even if you see them, you don't address them, or you don't communicate them, and you don't do anything about them, because you're kind of avoiding the conflict and thinking, maybe blaming yourself, maybe it's my fault, like that's another way connecting with your archetype. So remember your archetype, connect with that, and really look deep inside yourself, look back into the history of your relationship, and what was your pattern, how do you respond to those red flags in dating and relationship. So another thing that I also mentioned in the review, and I want to emphasize it now, is that when our intuition, women are very intuitive, right? When our intuition picks up on something, it's not completely rational. So it's just the energy that we sense, even if we don't know what it is, even if it's something hidden. So we pick up the energy, it affects our emotional health. So we start to process certain emotions, and then maybe we try to talk to our partner or try to address it somehow when we don't have any kind of rational explanation. It's just feeling. So that can be very challenging for your partner, because most men, they need facts, they need rational explanation. What exactly you're complaining about, what exactly you're not happy about. So that can create a situation when you're trying to address something and you're not met where you are, by your partner, you're not accepted. So it was kind of your imagination or something. So we'll go deeper in that. Before we address anything that we pick up with our intuition, we need to really process and integrate ourselves, where it comes from, what it is, what kind of situation triggered these feelings, what exactly doesn't feel right, what feels off, right? So we need to integrate this piece ourselves, process it emotionally, understand what is it for us first, why we feel this way, how it's different from what we want it to be, right? And then we can have a conversation, then we can have bring these facts or rational explanations together, right? And we'll go deeper with this piece. So let's do the definition. I always like, whatever topic we discuss, I like to focus what we're talking about, because everybody is different and might understand this different way, right? So what are these red flags in relationship? So red flags, the way I understand it, and I use this word, is certain signs or certain signals that you receive from your partner through his words, actions, or his energy, right? Something is going on that doesn't feel right. Usually they have like some kind of negative connotation. Something bothers you, right? Usually they are not right away, they're not rational. You can't right away explain why you feel this way. We're just speaking on energy. And many times it has certain facts, certain real live situations behind that. It just, when we pick on that, we don't see it completely. So it's like fragmented. So that's why I say we need to process and understand it ourselves first, right? And then to have conversations and address that. Also, it can be connected with something that is hidden, right? You feel there is something that you don't know, something that is not transparent enough, or something is like conflicting, contradicting. So you like two points don't connect, and you feel it, being intuitive, you feel it first, and then you can bring it together as a logical explanation. So it is also important when you start processing those red flags. It's very important to find out where your emotional response comes from. Your own emotional response. It can, if you're in your power, if you are in your integrity, if you know yourself enough, if you know how to navigate your own emotions, and you can, read and understand your own emotions and reactions, that can come from the place of your own power, knowing your boundaries, knowing what is acceptable, what is not acceptable for you beforehand, and that is the best place to be. Many of us are not in that place, right? But that is the right place to be, and this is how you can receive clean, pure, energetic signs of something is not right, right? Another source where these feelings can come from, these emotions, the way you respond to something that doesn't feel right, they can also come from the place of fear. They can also come from the place of your past experiences, some negative experiences in relationships, right? There's some wounds, emotional wounds that you had. So that can be, in this way, the energy that you receive, the information, the signals that you receive can be distorted by that fear or by that past experience. So it's really important to clean those lenses of perception and make sure that you perceive pure energy, that you're not distorting it with your fear. Fear can create enormous distortion. Your mind, if you emotionally come from the place of fear, your mind can start make up stories based on your past experiences, your negative past experiences, when you were hurt, when you were abandoned, misunderstood, etc. So that energy that comes in, going through the lens of fear, going through the lens of your, patterns, the past wounds, and you receive a story that your mind makes up that is not real, right? And it can be really far from the reality. So that's so important to do some work on yourself, so you can be aware of your fears, aware of your triggers, and aware of your patterns, and past wounds. Maybe you're still processing them, so you don't distort the information, the energetic information that comes in now in this relationship. That can, and that's life-changing, because so many times when we, in the healing process, or we haven't healed certain places inside our heart from previous heartbreaks, we can project so much on our present relationship, and blame our partner for something. He has no clue what's going on with us. So that is very important to discern these two sources of how you respond to those red flags, right? Do you feel the difference? So let's focus on two pieces here. So there is a different phases in relationships. So dating is one phase, and it's very different from another phase. The next phase is when you start living together and have more committed relationship. So during the dating phase, you're still kind of figuring out whether you like this person. You spend time together, you get to know them. It's kind of exciting. There are not so many obligations. There are not so much pressure on each other. There are no relationship agreements yet. You haven't created them yet. So it's still the process. It's a more open space to be. And on this stage, that's why I want to focus on this stage separately, so you can see what kind of red flags you can have on this stage and how to process them, right? There are two questions you want to ask yourself on this stage when you're dating the guy, and when you start to see certain red flags. The first question is that the right person for you at all? Or is he the wrong guy? He's not right for you to have serious relationship with. Another question you want to ask yourself, is he interested enough in the relationship? If he's committed to go to the next stage, right? Hi, Carmen. Welcome. So nice to see you. During the training, please ask questions. I will right away respond to all the questions. So it is an interactive course. I would like you to engage in this conversation. Oh, thank you so much for the cards. And the second question you want to ask is, whether he's interested enough, whether he's committed enough, whether he is available for relationship to grow, right? So there are two questions to ask on the dating phase. Now, when we talk about relationship, it's completely different phase. So this is when it's more challenging to process red flags. Why? Because you have already spent so much time with that person. You have already committed to be with them. They committed to be with you. I usually see the relationship like when people start living together, because that's a completely different stage. It's completely different situation when you actually can't hide your flaws. You have to be authentic. You can't just be in a place where you like pretend or impress your partner, you know, just showing the good side. So that's a different place to be. And on this phase, many women choose to avoid, you know, dealing with those red flags because it's scary, because you feel, you know, you can destroy the relationship if you really focus on this kind of negative signs, right? So it is scary and it's uncomfortable because you have already committed and you don't want to see bad things about your partner. Many times that happens, right? So on this stage, you can ask yourself questions like, do I really love this person, right? If he's right for me. Do I trust him and do I feel safe with him? Can I be completely myself? Can I relax and not, you know, try to impress him or try to do something that doesn't feel completely right for me? Are we compatible in a practical way? Because so many good relationship, you know, potentially good relationship are not possible because people just are not compatible. Or if another person is less committed to the relationship with this certain quality that you're looking for, that can create lots of disappointment from your side because he is not willing to go where you want to go. So that's the practical piece is very, very important. I know couples who have tremendous like physical attraction and like spiritual attraction, and they have similar interests, but when they live together they're just not compatible. So that's important to ask yourself on this phase. Then how you feel supported by that person, and does he respond to your needs, to what you communicate, or you just keep telling him what you want, what is important for you, and nothing changes, right? Does he respect your boundaries? Does he walk his talk, right? So all these questions, it's important to ask on this phase. Now, how to read the red flags. So I will go through the whole process of how we first notice those red flags. We'll talk about what kind of examples of those red flags. We can discuss that. But I will go through the whole process step by step. So we see what's going on and how we process and respond to them as well. So beforehand, I always tell women, you know, you have to listen to your intuition. It doesn't matter, as I said before, you might be triggered and your response can come from the place of fear. It doesn't matter. The first our responsibility is to listen to our intuition, not to ignore these uncomfortable feelings within ourselves. When something doesn't feel right, something feels off, it's very important to register that, not just like push it away, right? So the first thing, we have to register those red flags with our intuition, accept them, this is how I feel, it's there. And then also pay attention. Pay attention how you feel. The second thing, this is when we start to separate these two paths. Okay, you can ask yourself, okay, have I felt it before? You get triggered. So immediately when we receive the red flags, we get triggered. Emotionally, we already start this process, right? Usually we respond with a negative emotion. So we ask ourselves, okay, where does it come from? Does it come from the place of empowerment? And are my boundaries that are very important for me are being violated? Or does it come from the place of fear and my past hurts? And, you know, the energy that I receive, it's not that such a big deal, but it's being exaggerated and distorted through the lens of fear. So that's very important to separate that. And then you have two choices of how you behave and what you actually do with that once you separate these two things. When it comes from the place of empowerment, like your internal process is already clear, like you understand, okay, this is something that I don't like, I don't want to have in my relationships, this is something not acceptable, so I will need to communicate, I will need to prepare myself to deal with it and address it at some point to my partner. Now, when it comes from fear, it will take longer to process, because then you go deep inside yourself and go back maybe into your memories and see where it comes from, right? Why are you feeling so intensively about this thing? Maybe it's like a little thing, right? But it's being exaggerated with fear. Now, the second thing, it's very important to take your time and take your private space to process those red flags, because automatically we are so emotional, most of us women, that we start to respond to it right away. Like whatever comes up, we just, give it back to our partner, even if there is no like rational background yet. So it's very important to pause on any kind of external reaction, and I call it trigger reaction exercise. So you pause and you don't respond right away. So you take your time, like getting your energy back to yourself and processing within yourself, gaining clarity. What is this for you? What exactly doesn't feel right? And then maybe taking some time to pay attention. Are there more of those red flags? Is it just, did it happen once, or it's like repetitive pattern that just keep happening? So you pay attention, and then you also notice, how do you connect the energy that you receive, the intuitive, like something we pick up with our intuition, and connecting with real situations. So when you have a conversation with your partner, you can actually explain what didn't feel right from what he did or said, how he acted. So you can have some rational element as well, because men usually need to have some rational explanation, facts. So what don't you like? What exactly bothers you, right? Another tip I want to give you here is don't try to rush to respond and resolve the situation, because our first reaction, our first desire when we have something unclear, unresolved, something bothers us, we want to resolve it, right? But actually that's a good idea, to take more time and not to rush, unless you're absolutely clear and you know how to communicate it in a powerful way, not triggering way, not blaming, not projecting, but centered. I will talk about NVC, nonviolent communication, a bit later, that we can use to communicate with our partner, so we're not projecting or blaming him for what we feel. And maybe he did something that he was not aware completely, and he didn't know that it can trigger us. So that's very important to keep that boundary, to say, okay, this is how I feel. It's not like you did something wrong, because many times we say, oh, you did something wrong, and they feel, oh, again, I did something wrong. So that can create lots of mess in our relationships. Also, another thing I always say to women is like, it's very important to accept and validate your feelings, even if it comes from the place of fear. This is how you feel, right? If you start resisting your feelings, if you start fighting them, it's not gonna help. So even if it comes from the place of fear, you accept it and validate it. It's okay to feel this way because I had those experiences, and it takes more time to process that piece. So you don't project your past on your current partner, who maybe doesn't have an idea what happened to you before, and obviously he's not responsible for that. So just separating that and just addressing that piece that actually connected to him and his behavior and your relationship with him, not all the burden, all the baggage that you're carrying from the past relationships. You can mention that if you have really good, transparent communication, authentic communication with your partner. You can mention that you had negative experiences, painful experience in the past, so he can understand that the way you feel is also kind of exaggerated because of that pain that you had. But this is the next thing that we're going to talk about. Now, this is just a brief review of the steps how to process those red flags. So when you talk to your partner, let's say you're ready to talk to him about it, using nonviolent communication. And in nonviolent communication, we use this golden template, like when you say, when you did this or that, or when you said this or that, I felt this. I felt scared, I felt fear, I felt hurt, I felt whatever, overwhelmed, angry. So you're separating your feelings from his behavior. So it's not like he did something wrong, it's the way you feel. So this is what the foundation of nonviolent communication, that we can all relate to basic human feelings. So we're not blaming or projecting anything. And using precise language and asking if you want him to change something, like you don't like the way he behaves or like the way he treats you. Use the precise language and ask him something doable, not just in general and something vague, because your intuition, maybe you didn't find the words to root and make your requests like more doable, more realistic, more understandable for another person who has no clue how you feel and why, right? Doable, realistic requests. What exactly you want him to do? Like even up to giving some instructions, but this is how I want to be loved. This is how I want to be treated. This is what makes me happy. All right. So basically, I made a comment here. Basically, many women, what we do, we make a mountain out of anthill, right? So this is all because we don't ground our intuition, we don't connect, we don't build bridge between intuitive and rational. And this is how the difference between men and women. Men might have a hard time to really understand what your intuitive feelings are, right? So they need to connect it with rational explanations. So before we have that clarity, before we have this whole picture, it would be hard to have a conversation about it. Okay, let's discuss examples from real life about the red flags in dating, and the dating phase. One of the most common situations when a man that you start dating, so let's say you went for a few dates and he was nice and everything was great, you really enjoyed it and he was passionate and interested, and then suddenly he just disappears, so ghosting you, right? So that feels horrible, and I guess most women had those situations if you were going through the dating phase, right? Online dating is a very common thing. So that doesn't feel good in many women what we do, because it was such a beautiful experience and it was a connection. So we start to reach out and trying to find out what's going on and why he's not connecting with us. Maybe we can find create excuses like, oh, maybe something happened to him, so we keep texting, keep calling him. And the reality shows that in most cases nothing bad happened to him. He just got off, and there are reasons for that. He probably doesn't have enough integrity. He doesn't know what he wants. He doesn't, maybe he's not maybe interested in relationship the way you are interested. So you don't know, so there is no need to make stories about it. And the best way to deal with this situation, to press pause and not to react anyhow. So don't text, don't call. If he's the one for you, he will come back and he will talk to you first. So the man, give him a chance to initiate the contact, right? Don't run too fast. Don't do something that it's not time to do yet. So why would you chase the ghost, right? Another thing, red flags, what I've heard from the stories from women who I work with, you get to know the guy and he starts to tell you stories about his ex-girlfriends and saying all these things, kind of blaming them for not being able to have a relationship with him, right? And that's all their fault, and kind of victimizing himself. I'm such a nice guy, but all these women, they didn't treat me well. So that is a red flag. So he doesn't have enough integrity to see the situation from the both sides, right? And it happens a lot. And sometimes it's very subtle, because he's very nice to you, right? He's trying to impress you. He's, on the first date. But that is a red flag when he doesn't speak well about his exes. Because that shows that on this next stages of relationship, this quality can come out, this lack of integrity, blaming others, like victimizing himself. Also, what many women say, they don't like men who are kind of stingy with money and stuff. Like, you go out in the restaurant, he starts to count like every penny and splitting the bill. And so for many women, it doesn't feel good. It's not attractive in a man. And probably most of us kind of step back at this point, because it's kind of not very interesting. But some women actually go for it and trying to see good things. But that's obviously a red flag if he's like that. Another thing, when you go on date with him and he speaks about himself a lot, and just kind of he's not able to listen to you, not asking enough questions about you, kind of having maybe general talks all about himself. Can it be a red flag? Yes. Then another thing to notice, is he like judgmental person? Does everything make him feel like angry and negative? I met some people who just complain about everything and just doesn't feel good, even if he, if you find good things about him, but if he's very judgmental, he sees negative more than positive, it's probably not a good thing to be around, right? You don't want to be his anger manager. He doesn't keep his promises. He's not reliable, kind of on and off, right? Gets late on dates, cancel dates a lot. Red flag? Yes. Another thing, like this with lack of commitment, some guys just don't know what they want. They might like you, they might have fun with you, but they're just not, in general, not because of you. So many women take it personally, like something wrong with me, He's nice, he's attractive, he likes me, but he doesn't take next step, right, in relationship. Well, it's because he's not ready to take that next step. And it's not about you, it's about him. That he's in the place where he doesn't know where he's gonna go. He's not ready to commit, he's not ready to make decisions about relationships, and that happens a lot. So there is no need to force something that is not mature enough, right? If it's not ready, he's not ready, this is what it is. You either accept it and just have this kind of relationship. This is also a relationship, but understanding and having clarity about it. Or you step back and say, no, that doesn't work for me. I'm not looking for this kind of relationships. They also call it like vagabond syndrome, the one who always wants to go somewhere on adventure, and relationship is a secondary thing for him. So he wants to explore the world, he wants his career, he wants to travel, and that's totally fine. But if it's not something you want to deal in your life with, that can be a red flag as well. And the last one I want to mention, of course there are thousands of them, I'm just trying to cover what are the most common are. The last one is that you're the one who initiates everything. Like, he's just a passive person. Maybe he's just comfortable with you because you kind of take care of him and you make decisions, like indecisive, kind of passive person. So that, if you don't want that in your life, just pay attention, and it can be a red flag. So, as I said, in dating is much easier because you're still in open space. You still have a chance to decide, do you want to commit to this person, or this is not something you're looking for. And this is totally fine. This is like totally, this is organic process, and you can make decisions based on what you receive, what you see, right? If you are looking for like serious relationship and creating family, all these red flags can be in the way. But you might be also in a different place. You might be not in the place where you yourself want to have relationship soon, right away, whatever. You have a baby calling, you want really committed and responsible and loving guy for, marriage or anything. You might be in a different place as well. You might be open to explore other variations of relationships. This is what women, we don't talk too much, but that's totally fine. It's all how you feel, where you are in your life, and it's your choice as well. It's very important to be at the same place. If you're dating somebody and if you're in the same place and you have the same understanding, what is this connection, what is this relationships about, there is no problem with any of those. So what are those? First one is the most serious, with potential marriage, right? Very committed relationship. It's important to have clarity what both partners want, because if one is more interested and another is less, that can create lots of uncomfortable experiences, unpleasant experiences, disappointments. There can be some romantic connection. Some women, like after divorce, they just want to refresh their perception. They want to feel alive, and they're just open to go for a romantic connection with an open end. And you don't know what's going to happen, right? You're just exploring, and that's totally fine. There can be some short-term passionate affairs that you know yourself that they will not last, but you're willing to go for it for some reason, Again, maybe you just want to experience more intense feelings after you felt like stuck for like years and years. It can be something for fun and very light because, you feel this way. It's also your right to choose that. Or it can be even friends with benefits. And if both people agree on that, there is nothing wrong, The only universal law is a free will. If both people are aware and both people, don't manipulate, control, or create any pressure on another person, this is totally fine, beautiful, balanced relationship, variations of relationship. So this is what can happen on a dating stage, and this is how to avoid illusions, because what happens with other women, we create illusions like, okay, he's not maybe completely committed, but I will work harder and hoping that he will commit, or hoping he will change. Nobody will change because you want them to change. They will only change when they feel like changing. And you can't force them to change. You can only inspire them to change. If you're inspiring, if you're free, if you're not creating pressure, this is the most attractive energy, because you are, you know, in your own magnetic field. You're creating your magic. You're free, and you're not, you know, you're not too close. You're not demanding anything from them. This is the most attractive, because as I said in my previous trainings, if you followed my work, my videos, I mentioned this piece before. Most women are wired to life through love. So it's very important for us to bond, to have a partner, to be like in relationship. And most men are wired through freedom. Even being in a relationship, they want to feel free to make choices. So that is like fundamental difference. They are like always want like an adventure, an excitement, a challenge. So that is a big difference between, in most cases, there are of course exceptions. So that's why creating pressure doesn't really help your relationship with any kind of man. All right, so another thing that's that I really want to mention, because it came out many times in my work with women, like beautiful, loving, compassionate women. Many times it can be connected with good girl, great mother archetype. When you know, the woman who did some work on herself, and she wants her partner to grow, and kind of like treating him a little bit like a mother, you know. And then when the man has certain insecurities, instead of like, you know, step by step giving him a challenge and create open spaces for him to explore, she feeds his insecurities. For example, like the man is very jealous and he just don't want you to talk to any guys, to any male friends. And if you follow that, and if you're like, okay, limiting yourself, depriving yourself from what feels right for you, feeding his insecurities, you become a cushion for his insecurities. They're not going to change, because some women have this idea like, oh, but you know, it's just not for this phase, before he, you know, develops better skills, before he, you know, grows in his awareness and relationship skills, blah blah blah. No, you are feeding his insecurities if you are depriving yourself from what is important for you. So no, this doesn't work. All right, so let's see how much time. Wow, 43 minutes. I really wanted to cover so much in this training. So it feels like I give you a nutshell. There is a lot to cover because it's a big topic. Now let's talk about relationship phase. I want to focus on the most important pieces here. So what kind of red flags in relationship when you're already living together and something starts to change from the dating phase, something starts to change when you went through the honeymoon phase, and now it's more everyday life, sharing everyday life, all the challenges of life, routine. So what can be a red flag? A man, your partner, avoids spending time together and finding excuses that he's busy, distancing himself. This is something to pay attention, right? This is something to connect, to ground the feeling to the situation, and find what exactly he's doing that you feel this way. What you want, how you want it differently in terms of like practical application, because man has hard time with like the energetic, like more general feelings, like what exactly on practical level you want different. If he's getting unreasonably jealous and start to control you too much, red flag, right? Narcissistic behavior, manipulating, having this relationship where you do like rewards and punishment, you know, like, oh, this reward because you behaved well, this punishment because you did this to me, I do this to you. So it's basically I wrote down something very insightful, I believe. So if he's feeding your hopes but not your needs, that's kind of a narcissistic behavior. If your relationship, like as soon as you pull back a little bit, he feeds your hopes that he will change. He promises something. But in reality, nothing changes. So your needs are not met. It's just you're feeding your hopes. And you keep buying that. Red flag. Another situation, he can take care of himself. Kind of immature kind of man. And he finds like a comfort with you. Like he feels comfortable, you protect him. You protect him from external environment, maybe money, financial security, maybe where you live, emotional support, like any kind of guidance, decision making. So those men who are indecisive and passive might feel really comfortable with you, but what do you receive in return from them? So that's the question, right? Is this your conscious choice to be with this person like that, or you again? Or do you hope to them to change? There are men who become very critical and become kind of negative, so they might start making negative comments about you, criticizing you for different things. They don't like this about you, they don't like that about you. So the question, why do you want to please them? Don't you want to relax and be yourself, be home, feel safe? Red flag. The situations when he's hiding something from you and not being transparent, not being honest, finding excuses that don't feel real, some kind of explanations, that is also a red flag. If he's irresponsible and doesn't take care of, some responsibilities in your routine, procrastinates, promises he will fix this and he doesn't, red flag. He makes stories, flip-flops, changing his mind too often, red flag, right? And I don't give you exact situation because I'm sure you know your own, right? You can connect it with your own life stories this way. Now, this is something very, very important. Okay, we're all human beings, we are not perfect, and our partners are not perfect as well. We want to grow, and growing alone is faster, but growing together is more fulfilling, more exciting, right? We do want to grow together in relationship. So all these elements, all these red flags can be present in your relationship in certain proportion, right? If they're too much, then probably you don't want to deal with them. But if they're, here and there, you can still work on them, and that's called growing in your relationship. And if both partners are working on that, that is beautiful, right? Now, if there is something that doesn't grow, like something about your partner that you don't like, and you don't feel this is something you would prefer to have in your relationships, if you hope that he will change, then you're giving in, right? You're giving in, okay, today is not good enough, but maybe tomorrow gonna be better. That's giving in. So the big difference between acceptance and giving in is that acceptance is like you accept what it is today and actually find a way to enjoy it no matter what. Because all relationships are not perfect. When you accept something, you're not sacrificing anything today for tomorrow. You accept what it is and you find a way to enjoy it and really, take everything from the moment, from the connection with your partner. That's acceptance, and that comes from real love. You love somebody and they have some flaws. They have some qualities that you don't like, but you accept them from this deep place and you still enjoy being with them. Now, giving in is something that you don't enjoy, that you don't feel happy, you don't feel safe, comfortable in your relationship, you don't feel home, but you hope that tomorrow it will change. You're sacrificing today for tomorrow, and that is a big difference. So just think about it, process that. Such a big difference, right? Now, what I want to ask, yes. So I'd like to have some summary of tips how to deal with red flags. And the first one, it's kind of, I would say it's probably technique. It's energetic technique of how to process something that is not ready to be communicated or verbalized. Something like on an intuitive level, or maybe your partner avoids conversations. This is so common in relationship. Men hate talking about emotional stuff. They just don't like that because they are not as good as women. This is this area of our expertise. We're good. We feel intuitively we know, and we know how to find best words for that. Most of us, we can grow in that as well. But for men it's harder, and it takes more time and more energy to process emotions and find the right words for them. So that's why they resist talking about emotional stuff. They resist vulnerable conversations. So what can you do when your partner is not ready to talk about some emotional stuff, about red flags, about how you feel, how he feels, what's going on, what can be changed, or what you want to change? He's not ready. He's avoiding, he's finding excuses. Do you need to break up immediately? Maybe not. So there is one very cool energetic technique that comes from Asian teachings of Tantra. And I kind of made it more understandable for us modern women. And I call it pulling your energy back. So this is the technique, non-verbal technique that you can use in relationship. It's called pulling your energy back. So when we're in love and we're like really connected with our partner, we're just like close. There is always something's going on. There's energy exchange. And whatever it is, positive, negative, there is always this energy exchange because we're entangled, we're connected, in constant connection. So pulling your energy back is actually disconnecting from your partner. Not completely, not like cutting him off and don't talk to him. That can actually create lots of tension. And that can actually create more negative connection. So disconnecting means like you're disengaging yourself. You're not engaged in any kind of exchange. So you're pulling your energy back to yourself and taking your time and space. Having your own life. Coming back to I am versus we are, right? And this is the most global and traumatic myth about relationship, that we have to be constantly connected to our partner, constantly, exchanging something. This is so false. Because look at nature, everything is cyclic. Inhale, exhale, connecting, disconnecting, right? Like tides in the ocean. Water comes in, water goes away, right? Everything is cyclic. And relationship as well. So because we are born in this physical body, we do have our own space, our own energy. There is I am. I am cannot be lost in relationship. I am cannot be lost in we are. I am is always prior. And this is how you can create happy life, Because if you lose yourself in relationship, if you lose your I am in we are, this is when you start to feel unhappy. This is when you start to feel something is off. Like you get irritated, your partner gets irritated. This is how we destroy even the most beautiful relationships in our life. So connecting, disconnecting. And it's not a radical action, pulling your energy back, no boom, cutting off, no, don't approach. It's more like a light, slight movement, like a dance, You step in, you step out, you're kind of taking my time, And intuitively, women, wise women who are like wild in life and feel it, they do it. And women who have like long, 20 years together with their partner and still have a good relationship, still love each other, they intuitively got it. They energetically got it. Maybe they can't explain it, but they know. And many women didn't get it. Why? Because of our social and cultural conditioning, because we look at our parents, our grandparents, how they live and what's going on in their relationship, and we pick up that model, role model, and we do the same to ourselves. No, connecting, disconnecting. Inhale, exhale. And this is the most attractive, technique that you can always, like women say, how do I bring the romantic part of my relationship back? This is how you can do it. Conversation might not help, but pulling your energy back, coming back to yourself, embracing yourself. Oh, that's me. You exist even without your partner. Congratulations. You saved your I am. And when he feels that, oh, it's not something that I possess, it's not something that I always can get and I, control, that's what is attractive, like a sunset. You can touch it, you can grasp it and pull to yourself. It's there, it's gorgeous because it's out there, And the same is the feminine energy when it's moving, when it's not always like available and, you look, it's still there, it's not stuck, it's not rigid, it's moving. And this is what is attractive. So it's like, oh, it's not like I can it's always available. It's like I still have to work. It's a challenge. I still have to engage myself in the interaction so I can have this beauty in my life, right? So that's one of the biggest pieces here. Now, another thing, the tip for red flags in good relationship is keeping your relationship energetically open. It doesn't mean you have to be like polyamorous and have other lovers. No, it means that when you are in relationship, you're also connected to external world. In Western culture, like I live in the United States, many relationship tends to close on itself. So it's like when you get a partner, like you kind of lose your friends. You don't spend so much time in social environment. Like everything changes, like only family or family and a family, like for many people, because we're a social being and we have need of constant interaction with different energies. Emotionally, spiritually, we need that. So when we deprive ourselves and create this closed system of relationship, this is what even this little system of family can become totalitarian. It's like a country, almost the same thing. It's become totalitarian. It becomes too much control and manipulation, because when you spend some time in this closed container, you will want to get out. And if your partner will notice this tendency that something is changes, he will resist that. So that can create lots of tension, lots of conflicts. So originally, from the very beginning, it's very important to keep the relationship energetically open and be in constant interaction with the external world. Now, another technique that I call, let me see what time, oh my God, 1 hour, in a nutshell, mirroring. Mirroring is similar to pulling your energy back, and that is connected with fundamental energetic laws of the universe. So when your partner is pulling back or disengaging himself, or like he's not there for you, he's not present, he doesn't support you enough, right? Avoiding the intimacy, maybe because you've been together for a while. So mirroring is actually mirroring his action and his energetic, actions, right? So what usually things and beings do in this kind of energetic relationship, when somebody pulls out, another person tries to reach. So like the pushing, pulling energy, right? Well, I'm pulling, I'm gonna push. So, and we do this women a lot, like forcing the intimacy, forcing the connection when he's out of that, right? So mirroring is actually, instead of doing this, like he's pulling, you're pushing, you're pulling as well. And that only can be done when you're aware of your energy, when you're not enough to mated mode. And that is, what Tantra is teaching us, because it's not just about sexuality, it's about energy as well, in general. And when you pull back as well, you're kind of pulling your energy back as well, and creating your own reality and do your own thing, then he feels like this empty space between you. So the space is actually growing. He's pulling And at some point, he will start feeling this empty space without your energy. And that what usually feels weird. It's like, oh, that's unusual. Usually when I do this is what happens. It's like habitual pattern. So when he pulls away, he expects you to reach after him. And then it's not rational, so don't try to explain it with your mind. This is energetic phenomena. And then if you also pull back, you kind of, it's like against gravity. It's like the object is falling into the sky, right? So he is surprised in a good way. So he's like, so in that actually encourages him subconsciously. He's not completely aware of it, to pull to kind of come back to the connection, maybe reach out to you. Just try that trick. This is the energy. We're always trying to explain it with our moral values, right? Whatever they were teaching us, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. But this is a pure energy work. This is how it works. People are not completely aware of what they're doing, but the energy is always working through them. So, and that also comes from Tantra. And this will help your relationship to last forever, if you're really with the right person. Another tip is knowing your boundaries and communicating them clearly and keeping them firm. This is the whole dimension of this work as well, and I work with women a lot on really building their boundaries. And your boundaries based on what feels right for you. They can evolve and change, but only you know what is this. What are your boundaries? What are they? How they, must be set up so you feel in your power, you feel safe, and you feel home, right? I will not focus on it now because kind of over time. Another thing is addressing issues in time, so not accumulating those red flags until it becomes unbearable, and that's actually what would destroy relationships. But addressing every little, like more and less little things, when you have clarity, when you have whole picture, when you ground your intuition and have something to share on the rational level, these issues must be addressed, must be communicated with your partner, and developing that healthy, habit to do this and training your partner. And that can be also foundation of having relationship agreements, boundaries, and addressing issues in time to be able to communicate about everything. Another tip, which can be similar to what I shared about the energy, is when you get triggered with something, pause your reaction, and this is trigger reaction exercise, and neutralize your energy at the moment. So when you feel triggered, don't just out there, right? Don't throw it right away on your partner. Keep it and work with this. This is your inner work. Neutralize your energy. Don't respond anyhow. Be neutral. Breathe. And I have the whole training about it with my clients. So neutralizing your energy, working with your triggers internally, bringing the rational piece into your own understanding of the situation, so you can prepare for like authentic conversation. And the last piece that I want to share for today is one of the most attractive things about a woman for a man is when she has a passion of her own, when the relationship is not the only passion of her life, when she has something to do outside of the relationship. She has passion, she has, maybe it's her work, maybe her projects, maybe traveling, hobbies, something that you're passionate about that is not only your partner or is not just your family, right? So that is very beautiful. It's very attractive because your passion ignites you. It charges your energy with this beautiful light, and this is what people see. This is how you feel also. All right, so as I said, so this training, basically what I shared is just a nutshell from what I know. I'm writing a book about toxic relationship patterns and transforming these genetic codes that we have, our habitual patterns of how we understand relationships and how we engage ourselves in the relationship. And there is so much, alien energy that doesn't serve us anymore. So we're evolving on collective level, but before we change something on the collective, we change something inside of ourselves. So our perception, our understanding, transformation. Why I call my training is my programs are transformational. What is transformation? We talk about it all the time these days, right? It's very common, very fancy, popular word. What is transformation? Transformation, the way I understand it and the way I help my clients, is changing your habitual reactions, your habitual patterns in everyday life, in the way you think, feel, act, and relate. So whatever you learned from your childhood and through cultural conditioning, social conditioning, ancestral, whatever we inherit from ancestors, your own story, with negative situations, all this material, all this baggage, when you disconnect from that and say, no, that's not part of me anymore, I choose to drop it, I choose to release that, all these beliefs that you have, and then you step aside and create a different field, different belief system, right? Based on what feels right for you, what you really want, what you want to create. Using your imagination, everything is possible, some people live their lives completely different from the majority of population. So that is possible, and that is happening here and there. Just it's a matter of paying attention. And this is what I help my clients with, to create the relationship you really want and feel good about, without thinking what other people think, whether it's appropriate or not, is it good, bad, wrong or right. You're the one who decides. And this is what we need to dig out because so many people have had time to transform themselves because they just don't have enough skills, they don't have enough awareness, they don't have lots of fears that block them, blockages, energetic blockages, and lack of commitment, fear, being alone, checking whether it's just me or it's somebody else can see this way or feel this. So there's lots of mess out there. So we need to clear the space first and then build from the foundation. So this is what I do. If you want to learn more about my work, you can check my website, lanaelkacoaching.com, and you can book discovery call. This is what I really recommend. It's free. It's kind of a consultation, but it's designed to get to know each other, so I can see how I can help you and what you really want. What kind of help you need. What do you really want to change? What is calling? Usually women come to do therapy or coaching when they're like on the edge, when their life collapses. You don't need to arrive to that place. You can make decisions earlier and take action before, but this is what it is, and whenever it's time for you, you can find your path. And I really enjoyed being here with you. Thank you, Carmen, for being here for the whole hour or even more. And whoever watches on replay, you're welcome to ask questions, reach out, and I will always come back to you. I wish you a great day. Oh, thank you so much for your hearts. I hope it was very useful. I hope it was beneficial for you. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.